Hey everybody, welcome to Focus Garage. Today's video is not going to be so much of a tutorial as it is pretty much just a before and after shot of what's going on here. So, we're getting the GTI stock Austin wheels ready for the winter. We are just going to run an all-season tire because we don't have to really drive this car much in snowy conditions or anything like that, and currently right now we are on summers. So I'm just going to go ahead and give you a quick overview of what the stock wheels look like and what we're going to do to them here. So you can see these stock wheels, from far away they look pretty good, but up close, I bought the car used. They've got quite a lot of damage going on with them there. There's some scratches, some pitting, some curving. So they're not in the best shape. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna refresh them with a fresh coat of paint. I'm never really a big fan of the two-tone finished wheels, so the way that we've got the machined here and the glossy black there, never really been a fan of that. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is get rid of all that, and now we're just getting them dirty here. We're gonna go ahead and get rid of all that and make them a nice metallic gray color here. Now we are going on the cheap and kind of trying this all with rattle cans. We've got Rust-Oleum metallic dark gray with some clear coat in the back there. My procedure for when I spray paint wheels is I do like to have one of the gun attachments for your hand, so that way you're not squeezing on that, it's more of a trigger action. And then it's pretty simple. I'll just go ahead and use note cards and surround the outside of the wheel there with note cards, tape off the valve stem, make sure that's good, and then just clean up the wheel with some degreaser. So I like to usually do about 4 to 5 coats of wheel depending on how much these cans will take me, and 2 coats of clear coat per wheel. I've gotten results that as long as you do good prep work can be pretty close to coming out of an actual gun here. So we're gonna go ahead and we'll jump through this. I'll show you what it looks like once we get a couple coats on, and then we'll show you it with the clear. I just wanted to make a quick update here and show everybody what it looks like with the note cards and with the tape on there for the painter's tape with everything fully prepped. Obviously, like I said, it's not going to be a full tutorial, but just my little tips and tricks. The cans that you're spraying out of, you would like them to be at least room temperature or warm. So if you have a cold area that you're painting in, go ahead and warm them up with a heat gun or something like that. The wheels, if you are careful the way you spray, this will be perfect. All you have to do is just line the outside of each wheel with index cards, tuck it in between the lip of the wheel and the tire, and you're good to go. As far as the valve stem goes, you can get as particular with this as you want or not. I'm gonna be going a darker color, so I really don't care so much. So you can see here, just go ahead and close off the top so you're not messing up the cap or the threads, and then just go down right to the bottom of it there, and then tape it off. You know, you may get a little bit of paint around it there, but when you pull the tape off, you're gonna be good. Like I said, pop out the center caps so that way you can have a nice line of paint all the way in there and you don't have to worry about taping those off or anything like that. Lay down something on your garage floor like a tarp here so you're not painting your garage. And that's it, you're pretty much good to rip. Let me show you that attachment that I was talking at here. We've got one of these. This just simply pops on the cap and then bam bam, you've got trigger-like action to spray as you're painting along the way here. So, we're gonna go ahead and get started with this. Like I said, we'll check in once we get a few coats down and then go ahead and show you the finished product once we're rolling along here.
Well, you may notice that we are no longer in the garage and we're back inside here. So you're probably wondering what quite happened with the wheel painting there. So I've actually never experienced what happened in my life before. I've painted things before with air-fed guns, electric guns, spray paint, Plastidip, all sorts of stuff. So I'm pretty familiar with how to lay down a couple coats of paint on something. And what I'm experiencing here with these wheels is something I've actually never experienced before. I'm gonna go ahead and put a picture up on the screen for you guys here, just kind of show you what ended up happening after I laid down a couple of coats. So clearly, as you can see, the paint is not sticking. For whatever reason, and I'll kind of go through my prep process here with you guys in a second and explain what happened, it isn't working. So what I did, and this is generally what I do before I prep wheels or, when I'm painting wheels, so to speak, especially with spray paint, is you're gonna wanna go ahead and clean the wheel very nicely. So I used an all-purpose cleaner, didn't saturate the wheel, I just sprayed it on a rag and, cleaned the wheel up. After I was done getting all the brake dust and dirt and grime and contaminants off of it, with the all-purpose cleaner, I got some isopropyl alcohol. I cleaned that with the isopropyl alcohol. Same thing, did not put it on the wheel itself, put it on a rag, and then wiped down the wheel using the rag that had the alcohol on it. Again, no big deal. I think where I really failed here is that I did not sand or scuff up the wheels prior to painting them. And in my experience with most wheels, especially factory wheels, that's not usually something you have to do, especially if you're using a primer or a 2-in-1 paint with a primer. you usually shouldn't have to scuff up the wheels. So I did not. So I laid down, a coat, and I noticed right away my first coat was like kind of splotchy. It wasn't laying down nice and smooth, and I thought, hey, maybe with a couple more coats, this will self-level itself. Fast forward here, we're 3 coats in that picture that you just saw, and there's literally spots of the wheel where the paint is just not taking at all. There's literally, you can still see the silver underneath it there. So I began to realize when I had purchased this vehicle, again, it's used, I knew, or I didn't know, but I had later found out that the wheels had been repaired. So there had been curb rash on the wheels, and the dealership quickly repaired that before selling the car, so that way they weren't selling a car with factory curb rash wheels. The problem with that is whatever process they use to clear coat the wheels there, after repairing them, I think the clear coat had some kind of reaction to whatever paint that I was using. I think the only way that would have been to avoid this negative reaction would have been to, in fact, properly sand the wheel down all the way to a bare finish, not try to paint directly over this clear coat. So, what do I do to myself here after realizing, hey, the paint that I'm putting down, isn't quite working, maybe there's some issues here. Do I just kind of send it and run with it, or do I want to, be a perfectionist and try and make this better? Well, I'm a perfectionist, and running the wheel with little spots in it like that would obviously drive me crazy. So what I did is I sucked it up and I started sanding. We're going to insert a picture of the sanded wheel right now. So you can see we sanded the wheel, and this is where we're at. Obviously, you can very clearly see now the high spots and the low spots and what it looks like after I sanded it. So, we have about 3 coats of this gray paint on there, on a perfectly clean wheel. It wasn't sticking. So I went ahead and I sanded it all down there, kind of got rid of the high spots and the low spots, and I scuffed it up in the anticipation that the paint should stick now. But I didn't want to make the same mistake just in case, for whatever reason, maybe the paint was bad, or the primer, or there was no primer at this point yet. It was a 2-in-1 paint and primer. Maybe the primer in that paint wasn't working properly. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to buy primer. So we got these scuffed up wheels. We're going to go ahead and lay some primer down on it, and we should be good to go. So I went, got primer, laid down the primer, and the primer seemed to take to the wheels very, very nicely. We were no longer having these issues in which there were bare spots on the wheels. The primer took the entire wheel, no silver you could see, no black, anything. It was a white primer, and it laid down cleanly. Cool. Sprayed the primer, got 2 coats of the primer on all the wheels. Everything's looking nice. It's smooth. It's level. Looks absolutely good. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I let the primer dry, and I go to proceed with painting. Now, just in case, I went above and beyond here. I was not even using the same cans of paint that I was originally. I had bought new paint now of the same color from a different store because I thought maybe there were issues with the old paint. It was old or something, or the agents in it weren't working properly. So I bought brand new paint. I'm painting these wheels with the brand new paint on top of the primer that went down nicely, and everything looks good. So I lay down 3 coats, put some clear coat on top of it, 2 coats of clear, and we're good. I let the wheels to themselves, let them dry overnight, and we check back in the morning, and this is what we found. Really? What the hell is happening here? What? So you can see in that last picture that we've got cracking, essentially, on the wheels. So what it looks like to me is that the primer wasn't fully adhered to the wheel itself, and as the primer dried with the top coat of paint over it, the primer started cracking because it was flexing and wasn't sticking to the wheel below it. So now we're left with what I like to call an eggshell finished wheel, and the only real option here would be to probably use the aircraft stripper and strip it all back to nothing, and scuff the wheel up and sand it down, use self-etching primer, sand that back down. And to be honest, these are just wheels that I'm going to be running for the winter. I don't know if I care anymore at this point. I almost want to just look for like a cheap winter set of wheels, or just run them the way they are, and I know it'll drive me crazy. Luckily, this style of wheel for Volkswagens is not very valuable, not very desirable, so nothing lost there. It's not like I ruined a nice expensive set of wheels or anything like that, but I've never dealt with anything like this in my life. I've spray painted many wheels before, I've plasticked wheels before, I've helped paint cars before, and I've never dealt with something that was this weird with products sticking to it. The only thing I can imagine and chalk this up to is the fact that the way the dealership prepared these wheels, they use some kind of weird clear coat or some kind of weird chemical process on it that's not allowing paint to stick to it again. I thought this would be fixed by the time that I put primer on it, and the primer after I sanded it, and it still didn't work. That primer ultimately decided to not adhere to the wheel, as you can see in that previous picture there, that we've got cracks in the paint. Not sure why, not sure what's going on. It literally like flaked off the wheel itself. So with all of that in mind, that is why we don't have a finished picture or video of, the stock Austin wheels painted on the car. Don't know what I'm gonna do. Maybe we'll throw them on the car like that, see how bad it looks. Maybe it's a 5-footer, 10-footer. Not really sure. Drop it in the comments down below if you guys have painted before, and let me know what the hell my problem is. Is it something obvious that I'm missing here? Do I need to, I don't even know, use a different primer, different process? Do you guys have questions as to why? I genuinely don't know what's going on here. So drop it in the comments down below. I definitely want to hear from you guys. Sorry there wasn't much content in this video here. I just wanted to kind of voice my concerns and expressions with you guys because I am frustrated in what had happened there. This is Mike from the Focus Garage. We got some great content from Onder coming here. He attended something really, really cool lately, and he's editing that video, so we should have that soon. But anyways, this is Mike. I'll catch you guys in the next video.